Let no one ignorant of geometry enter here. These words were inscribed above the entrance to Plato's Academy nearly 2.5 millennia ago. It is a bold warning, to be sure. But it wasn't about math. It was about mindset, about the preparation of the soul to receive the light of truth. Tonight, my brethren, I want to share with you something that is at once ancient, exciting, and deeply transformative. It is that which lies at the very heart of classical learning, Masonic tradition, and the timeless, lifelong effort of man to understand both the nature of reality and himself. I speak of the 7 liberal arts and sciences, known also as the Trivium and Quadrivium. In the medieval world, these were not university majors. They were not electives you could opt into, or out of, for that matter. They were seen as the essential foundation for becoming a free and fully formed human being. A liberalis, or one who was liberated through understanding. Even the term liberal arts comes from the Latin liber, meaning free. These arts were the curriculum not for slaves or laborers, but for those who would participate in civic life, in reasoned discourse, in the stewardship of their own souls, and those who sought the deeper mysteries. In some jurisdictions of Freemasonry, the brethren are told that, quote, the 7 liberal arts and sciences are recommended to your serious contemplation, not as a throwaway line, but as a blueprint, a ladder by which the mind ascends from darkness to light. Indeed, that is what this presentation is about, understanding what each of these 7 disciplines represents, why they were structured in this particular order, and what it means today for us as seekers, craftsmen, and stewards of Masonic light. So let us begin where this education must. Not as masters, but as fellows of the craft returning together to the winding staircase. To begin again with the Trivium, the threefold path of word, thought, and expression. The Trivium is known as the 3 ways and forms the first half of the 7 liberal arts. It is the path of the word. It teaches us how to know, how to express, and how to think. In essence, grammar is the tool of knowledge, rhetoric the tool of wisdom in expression, and logic the tool of understanding. Can I get a show of hands? Who can tell me what a parallelepipedon is? It's all right. Now, to some, what grammar is may be limited to defining the rules of language: syntax, sentence structure, comma placement. But in classical thought, grammar contained a far greater meaning. It was the very art of naming, of describing reality with accuracy. Grammar, in full, teaches us to observe, to define, and to articulate. It answers the question, what is this? Consider our ritual's emphasis on verbatim repetition, proper titles, positions, and names. They are not arbitrary words. They reflect our Masonic world and present its characteristics in a way that is both ordered and meaningful. To those who might not know, a parallelepipedon is the proper geometric name of an oblong square, or the form of a lodge. To misname something is to misperceive it. To know the proper name of a thing is to take the first step towards truth. To study grammar is to expand one's understanding of language, of words and their definitions, and to express eloquent elocution and extent by elaborating and enunciating intently and explicitly. You know, to talk good. Now, if grammar teaches us what a thing is and how to communicate it precisely, then rhetoric is the art of sharing one's understanding of a given truth with others. Many years ago, I was competing in a jazz festival in Fullerton, California as a saxophonist. I was given $100 for the duration of the 3-day trip for food. But unfortunately for my wallet and my stomach, the festival was selling all manner of fantastic inventions for musicians to enhance their sound, and I became enamored with an invention known as the ultimate ligature. This little guy, I was told, would, by reducing the contact points on my reed, enable me to produce a brighter, stronger, and more projected tone. So sure, why not? I bought it, gave him every dollar I had, and went on to win a number of awards for that performance, which I attributed in no small part to the new ligature. Problem is, we still had 2 more days of performances to watch and master classes to attend before we went home, and suddenly it was dinner time. Our director took us all to a restaurant, and of course I had no money. And because I had thrown every dollar away to some accessory, my bandmates weren't keen on giving me a hand. So I struck up a conversation with the woman behind the counter. I explained how I was here from Arizona. I told her of the salesman, the excitement I had when I first heard my new sound, and how I had won a few awards. As a result, the woman behind the counter, with a huge smile, went back and brought me one of the little snacker sandwiches they were selling at the time. I did the same thing the following day at another restaurant, and just by communicating my joy, my enthusiasm, and my truth of the situation, I didn't have to go hungry. If I had just gone to the restaurant staff and said, "Hey, I'm broke and want some food," there's no doubt I would have been pretty hungry for that whole trip. Now, while the art of rhetoric is to some nothing more than the study of persuasive speech, more accurately, it is the art and practice of the ethical, clear, and compelling transmission of a given truth. In my case, I didn't lie to anybody, nor did I misrepresent the truth of my situation. I just communicated my perspective of it. Aware of this power of communication, in classical times, rhetoric wasn't about the superfluous manipulation of an audience. It was about noble influence, the ability to uplift, to illuminate, and to inspire action guided by good and just reasoning by the use of words in a way that meaningfully resonates with the listener. To study rhetoric itself is to artificially divide what is being said from how it is being presented. And in a lodge, or in a man's life, where silence is golden and speech is sacred, rhetoric reminds us that the way we speak reveals not only our inner truths, but the quality of our inner architecture. Now, once we know what a thing is and how best to communicate it, we must ask, does this make sense? This is the realm of logic, or dialectic, as it's often called. Logic is the discipline that teaches us how to reason, how to build sound arguments, and how to detect contradictions within others and within ourselves. It is, if you will, the internal plumb line of the mind. In a world full of illusion, malicious rhetoric, and outright deception, logic gives us the ability to test ideas against the square of truth. To Freemasons, it is the crown of the Trivium. It reminds us that not all opinions are equal. To demonstrate an application of logic, brethren, I will now issue to you the following proposition. I have 11 fingers. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 plus 5 is 11. Now you all recognize that this proposition is false, and that of course I don't have 11 fingers. That much you can see just by looking. But let's use logic as well. We may take the facts we know to be true through observation, and now we apply the deduction. First of all, we may reason that each of my fingers are unique, and that no finger may be another finger. From there, we may reason that if I represent my fingers with numbers starting from 1, then I should come up with the number of fingers that I have. because as we said, each finger is unique. Lastly, we may reason that these unique numbers may be observed by counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This observation now provides us with an important fact. Let us use it to make a further observation, that by this very chain of logic, my initial proposition is wrong. I do not have 11 fingers, I have 10. But this method is not just for silly finger puzzles. Logic made use of by observation and deduction may be used to dispel the darkness of any false proposition and spread the light of truth. Even if I was sincere in my proposition, sincerity indeed is not the same as accuracy. We, as Freemasons, must train ourselves to think clearly, even when the path is clouded. Logic is a sword, and one that cuts both ways, and therefore it must always be wielded with discipline. When properly cultivated, grammar aligns us with truth in words, rhetoric aligns us with truth in actions, and logic aligns us with truth in thought. Together they form a triangle, a foundation. The Trivium does not just make us better thinkers, it enables us to be better men who are more capable of knowing, serving, and discerning truth from deceit and the light from the dark. But the Trivium is only half the journey. The arts of the word must be joined with the arts of number. The soul, refined in thought, must now begin its ascent into the order of the cosmos. For this, we must necessarily turn to the Quadrivium, the higher mysteries of number, harmony, and the stars. Having studied the more worldly arts of the word and mind that comprise the Trivium, we now ascend to the Quadrivium, the ethereal arts of number and the cosmos. This second division includes arithmetic, number in itself, geometry, number in space, music, number in time, and astronomy, number in space and time. Again, to the ancients, these were no mere academic trifles. They were and are the divine reflections of creation itself. While the Trivium seeks to ennoble the man, to study the Quadrivium is to trace the very fingerprints of the grand architect of the universe. Let us begin with arithmetic. Arithmetic is pure number, not applied, not embodied, but abstract. It is the study of unity, multiplicity, and relationship, and is, by its nature, the language of our reality. While we all in the modern day understand the applicative aspect of arithmetic for everyday problem solving, our ancient friend and brother Pythagoras recognized, as we should, that numbers are not limited to the definitions of quantity, but that they are equally the expressions of the qualities of the divine. To teach this, Pythagoras employed a tool of instruction which he termed the tetractys, which showed that the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 could be added to 10. And when the four numbers were illustrated by successions of dots, they together formed a perfect triangle and could, by contemplation and examination, additionally reveal the fundamentals of harmony and frequency. First, however, I'd like to illustrate the tetractys, then briefly go over some of its philosophical components and their Masonic parallels. The number 1, which they called the monad, was symbolized by the circumpunct and denoted unity, or a point, representing both the individual by its singular value and the source of all by its ability to return any value unchanged when multiplied. As we all know, any number multiplied by 1 is that number again. 2, or what was called the dyad, symbolized a line, duality, contrast, reflection, light and dark. And to us, the dyad is represented by the mosaic pavement and by the holy Saints John, whose feast days are on the opposing solstices of the year. 3, or the triad, is the number of harmony and is represented to us as the 3 tenets of a Freemason's profession: brotherly love, relief, and truth. But may also be represented by the triangle, or superficies, strength, wisdom, and beauty, or the trivium. 4, or the tetrad, denoted stability. We see this represented by the 4 cardinal virtues, the square, the elements, the cardinal directions, a solid, or the quadrivium. To Pythagoras, whose systems of thought are deeply interwoven with our Masonic traditions, numbers are living principles and apply just as much to the understandings of the more etheric matters of creation and the soul as they do to the material aspects and matters of science. It is important as Freemasons to understand that by the study of arithmetic and mathematics in general, it was never intended to strictly refer to the mundane business of counting and dry calculation. It is the entry point to a greater philosophical understanding, which by its nature present the means by which a man may expand his cognitive horizons, both material and spiritual, by learning to think in the language of the universe itself. If arithmetic is the contemplation of number in the mind, then geometry is to contemplate the nature of number in space. It is form, proportion, and measurement, the precise ways in which number takes on real dimension. It is the very noblest of sciences because by this art, the temple, cathedral, and basilica are built, the stone is shaped, and the universe at large is constructed. Even our sacred working tools, the square and compasses, are not just idle instruments. They are reminders that morality, like architecture, must be drawn with care, precision, and balance. Now, the Master Mason lecture states that the 47th problem of Euclid, or the Pythagorean theorem, is a great symbol of Freemasonry. It stipulates that for any 2 lengths, if you build a square on one and a square on the other, and add those squares together, the result is a square whose side can make a perfect right triangle with the first 2. I will demonstrate this. I have here 4 copies of the same right triangle with sides labeled A, B, and C. I will form a square using the side C and draw an outline around the whole of the figure. I will now rearrange the figure without changing its size. Now, originally in my script, I had written simply by rearranging the figures, but I guess it's anything but. But by moving the triangles, the space that was previously filled by the square of side C is now filled by one of side A and one of side B. As said before, we may use this principle to see the right of any 2 lines. If I am given 2 lengths, one of 3 and one of 4, what will set these right? A square of side 3 has area 9. A square of side 4 has area 16. 9 and 16 give us a square of area 25. A square of 25 has side length of 5. We can confirm this with a loop of rope of equally spaced knots. If I pull taut a length of 3 sections on one side and a length of 4 sections on the other side, then a length of 5 sections will make them right. This is why the Pythagorean theorem is a great symbol, because it shows us that the Freemason morality is geometric, not ad hoc or arbitrary. Given any two lengths, peoples, or groups, we may apply logic, number, and ratio to find a third that will set them at a right. Thus, we may take any human situation and use this Masonic method of reason to find what is right to do. In any case, we will always come to the same conclusion when given the same situation. This is why a fellowcraft is always tried by the square, a ratio of the fourth part of a circle. This is also why it is said that to build a temple, a life, or a self, one must first possess an understanding of the measure of things. Next comes music, the art of ratio and number in motion through time, but not in the sense of idle entertainment. To the ancients, music was not only the study of harmony and melody, it was a study which could explore the physical mechanics of vibration, frequency, and resonance, and the emotional mechanics of the soul. To demonstrate, I will show you that music can, by its nature, evoke a sense of uneasiness. Or a sense of calm and peace. Our ancient brethren believed that the soul itself was attuned to the same ratios that defined a musical scale, and thus explained why our emotions are so easily moved by harmony and melody, and demonstrated as well the ratios by which all matter is existent. To explore the geometry at play here, let us first acknowledge that the intervals between notes are not arbitrary, but are instead consistent mathematical truths. If one takes a string and divides it cleanly in half, the resulting pitch, or frequency, is the same, but higher by 1 octave. If one does the same, but divides the string by 2/3, the result is what is known as a perfect fifth. By 3/4, a perfect fourth. By 4/5, a major third. In fact, these ratios are so fundamental to frequency that I need only touch the string, and the resultant pitches will shine through naturally. While the other impure ratios between 1 and 1/2 produce nearly nothing at all. to our ancient brethren, these truths observed in music revealed the unseen mechanics of the universe. It is why the phrase "the music of the spheres" exists and leads us to astronomy, the study of the motions of the planets, which, by their motions, rotations, and orbits, formed the silent music of the heavens, which by frequency and harmony influences not only our own world, but our minds, our bodies, and our souls. If arithmetic reveals number, geometry its physical form, and music its behavior in motion, astronomy is the masterwork, the divine choreography of all creation. It is the study of the cyclic behaviors embedded in the clouded canopy, and of the cosmic laws that govern our reality. Our ancestors charted the stars not just for navigation, but for philosophical meaning, and to develop an understanding of exactly why a proper time and place affected various natural and personal events and outcomes. In 1952, scientist Lili Kalisko investigated whether lead could be influenced by astronomical forces, particularly Saturn, which the ancient alchemists and astrologers traditionally associated with that metal. In her book, Saturn and Lead, she used a method called capillary dynamolysis, where solutions of lead nitrate, silver nitrate, and iron 2 sulfate were drawn up through filter paper, leaving behind intricate crystallization patterns. Kalisko discovered that when Saturn aligned with the Earth and the Sun in a straight line, either on the same side, a conjunction, or 0 degrees, or the opposite side, an opposition, or 180 degrees, the resulting crystal patterns were cloudy, diffuse, or disordered. In contrast, the most clear and well-formed structures appeared when Saturn, the Sun, and the Earth formed specific angles relative to each other, namely at trines, or 120 degrees, squares, or 90 degrees, quintiles, or 72 degrees, and sextiles, at 60 degrees. Here is the truly astounding part. Those same degrees, when mapped in linear fashion to a vibrating string, match exactly in their ratio to the locations on the guitar where I only needed to touch the string. The skies, therefore, in the ancient times and now, serve as both an hourglass of divinity and a scripture of nature, written in light. To study astronomy is to observe and understand order, pattern, and rhythm on the grandest possible scale. In this art, we see the culmination of the Quadrivium, the ultimate revelation that the same harmony that governs the stars above also dwells within us below. Again, brethren, arithmetic teaches the language of numbers and the truths of unity, multiplicity, and the divine. Geometry teaches proportion and number in physical space. Music reveals the geometry of frequency and the effects of number and ratio in time. Astronomy reveals the harmony and architecture of the clouded canopy. Together, the Quadrivium doesn't just inform us, it awakens us to the grandest mystery of all. It opens the eyes of the mind and the ears of the soul. It shows us that truth is not just logical, it is beautiful. And just as the Trivium perfects the soul through the mastery of word and thought, the Quadrivium aligns that soul to the rhythm of the universe, and to the very nature of the grand architect. As masons, as perpetual seekers of more light, and as stewards of hidden knowledge, we are called to walk both paths. We have now fully ascended this last flight of the winding staircase, from the shaping of thought to the harmony of the cosmos, from the Trivium's clarity of expression to the Quadrivium's revelation of order. However, they are not two separate paths. Rather, They are the two pillars of a single temple. Together, they form a progressive science of passing the mind from ignorance to wisdom, from chaos to harmony, from noise to music, from darkness to light. As Freemasons, we are not only reminded to study these arts, we are reminded to contemplate them deeply and earnestly. Why? Because the Trivium cultivates the mind of a man, while the Quadrivium attunes the soul. One prepares us for dialogue with others, while the other prepares us for dialogue with deity. Look around the lodge. Truly, look. The working tools of geometry, the architecture governed by ratio and proportion, the language of our ritual refined with grammar and rhetoric, the emphasis on harmony, balance, and light. These are not just pleasing sentiments and pretty ornaments, nor are they superfluous decorations. They are living symbols, the substantiated echoes of the 7 liberal arts. Now you might ask, in the age of information, what place is there for ancient arts like these? The answer is precisely here and now, as it has always been. In an age where words are used without truth, where numbers are wielded and discharged without wisdom, when communication is instant and the meaning's lost, the 7 liberal arts offers a way back to center. They are not outdated. They are not obsolete. They are timeless. Because the heart and the soul of a man will always yearn for clarity, truth, harmony, and beauty. So I ask you, as I often ask myself, which of these arts have you cultivated? Which have you neglected? And which one is calling to you now? Remember, these are not subjects. They are the very disciplines of the soul. And to ascend the flight of the 7 liberal arts is not to gather feeble trivia, nor is it to cultivate your inner nerd. It is to enter the middle chamber and to be given the most profound secret of life, that the universe is made of pattern and meaning, and that you, yourself, are a pattern within it. So let us be the ones who remember. Let us build ourselves and others with wisdom. Let us speak with beauty. Let us live in harmony. And let us be, as the ancients were, free. Not because we may do as we please, but because we, by our labors, possess within us all the very light of truth. Thank you.